I mean, this is when I was really young. I read about like this Sarisa, right? In a book. And I think I was like 7 or 8. And then I went into my backyard and then I tied it. What type of wood was it? It was like leftover, like, you know, like inside your house, sometimes you have like a panel like at the top and at the bottom of your wall where like it's like wood that runs along it. So it's not just wall and then floor or wall and then ceiling. It's like trim or molding, right? And it's typically made out of like plywood, cheap wood, right? We had a bunch of leftover that in my backyard from whatever, like I don't even remember, but we had a bunch of that. And then I remember notching. I put like a notch into like 2 of them, and then I tied them together, and then I duct tape over the twine. And then so it was probably about like 10 feet long, right? And then at the end of it I took the kitchen knife from our kitchen, and then I tied it to the end of it, and then I was like stabbing like a stump in my backyard. And then the authorities came home from work and they saw me doing that. Oh man, that was a paddling right there. That was a paddling because I ruined that knife. So they had to buy a new one. The authorities, they had to buy a new knife because it's like you just like ruined an expensive kitchen knife. Okay, like I had to do a bit of engineering, right? Because I did the notch method, but it would still like pivot on that one notch. So I like undid it, and then like I added a bit more overlap, and then I did a double notch, right? Double notch, and then it was like tied in 2 places, and then it was sturdy enough for me to like do the stabby, right? But I remember like as a 7-year-old child, I was just like, oh, it's not like sturdy enough. Like, how could I make it more sturdy so that I could use it the way that a spear is meant to be used? So I did the double notch. 7-year-old engineering. I also tried. I had a super soaker and I tried to make a flamethrower out of my super soaker by filling it with like tiki lantern fluid, and then I hot glue gunned a toothpick to the end of the barrel, and then I stuck a candle on the toothpick, and then I lit the candle, and then my older sibling came out and it's like, what is that? And it's like, oh, it's a flamethrower. And they're like, ah, I see. And then they threw it into the trash can, and then I got another paddling. I promptly got another paddling. How are you not dead? People don't believe me, but I got close enough to the point where like the candle was lit. The candle was like 100% lit, and I was ready to go at it. I was ready to like pump the sucker and then just like squirt and see if it worked. Listen, I'm not an idiot. The backyard of my childhood had like a big concrete area, and I wasn't about to shoot it at a tree or anything like that. Did you ever have a rock phase? You seem like someone who would have enjoyed tumbling. Crystal growing. Yes, I did have a crystal growing phase. I did. I distinctly remember how much it stinks to grow crystals. Do you know what I'm talking about? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Like, if you've ever grown crystals, you know what I'm talking about, because I use the most like common method to grow crystals, right? Axel, we have to cook. My brother, the one that's like completely jacked, he's a younger brother, and I remember I wonder if he knows this. I never really brought it up, but I used to when I finished growing crystals, I would like hide them in our backyard, and he would find them and collect them. And like, to my knowledge, when we were kids, he thought that like crystals just like popped up out of the ground. He thought it was like literally like an MMO where like crystals just like replenish themselves like on a timer or something. And he used to collect them, and I never told him that like I would just like put them out there after I was done growing them. Luis Angeles, thank you very much for the super chat. Has a spear and weird gadgets, keeps rice buried in the wild 4 reasons, almost dies multiple times, made homemade flamethrower. Are you from Florida? I've never heard of this Florida of which you speak, but it sounds pretty based from the way that you're describing. If the average person from this Florida has a spear, keeps weird gadgets, keeps rice buried in the wild, almost dies multiple times, and makes homemade flamethrowers, they sound like pretty based. Just gonna say.